Back in Syracuse as the Crunch gets set for the Rochester Americans. Final home game of the regular season for the Crunch and the final game of a 12-game season series between the Crunch and the Amerks. On Countdown to Crunch Time, presented by Supercuts, I'm Lukas Favale with Crunch assistant coach Ken Klee. Ken, last night the Crunch opened up a 3-3 weekend to wrap up this regular season. The 5-1 win at home against the Laval Rocket. Pretty solid performance of the Crunch. What did you think of the game last night?
Yeah, I mean, I was pleased. Our guys, they obviously started strong and then we, kind of sustained pressure. I mean, it's tough. You're playing a team that really has nothing to lose, and they're going to come out and play loose and play hard. And we expected that from them, and they did. So I was happy to see our guys respond.
And it was obviously a good response from the game last week against Rochester, and we knew the Amerks are coming into town tonight. So could have been almost a trap game last night, but the focus was clear there. How did you get the guys to be ready to go mentally and physically last night?
Yeah, I mean, I just think we have a good group of core leaders that they know what their job is. They know it doesn't matter who our opponent is. We need to, attention to detail and bring our intensity and be ready to play. And
it certainly worked out for the Crunch in a 5-1 win for Syracuse. So kind of the big story last night, or at least this past week, was a full week of practice, first of all, but plus some reinforcements returning for the Crunch. Cameron Gaunt, Eddie Pasquale back for Syracuse, along with Mitchell Stevens, who returned from injury for the Crunch. But Ben Grew yesterday before the game said you couldn't just assume that things are going to go well with those guys back in the lineup. So again, the focus was there with those three returning, but all had a pretty good return for the Crunch.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think all three of them played really well. Like you said, it's not the case when you're playing the American Hockey League. You can't just put your jerseys on and expect to win. You're going to have to go out and execute, and you're going to have to play well if you want to get a win. And thankfully, our guys did.
And it was a solid performance, like we said, from all three of those guys. But Cameron Gaunt's back. He's been one of the leaders of that blue line pretty much all year. He was up in Tampa Bay the last couple of weeks. But what's it like to get him back there? And he's a workhorse, as we know.
Yeah, I mean, he's a calming presence. He's a veteran player. He's played in the NHL. He's played a lot of games in the American League. So I think for us, he's just he's a calming factor of relax. Things are going to be okay. We got to play hard, play intense, but also not lose our composure. I think he's really good at that.
And he had a couple points for the Crunch last night. Syracuse getting a very impressive offensive performance, 5-1 win. The big story in terms of the production there was Carter Verhaeghe, who picked up his 78th, 79th, and then 80th point of the season. Now most in a single season for the Crunch in a franchise history. So he's had a great year for Syracuse, 80 points on the year, and it's something that Ben Grew continues to talk about, the effort, the work that he's put in over the last 2 years. But what can the story and kind of what he has done over the last 2 years, how can that be used as an example for guys to continue to work hard and be productive?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, Carter's been tremendous for us. I think we got him 2 years ago. We weren't sure, what kind of player he was. We talked with him. He came, he got injured in training camp, and then he started off. We were trying to feel him out as a type of player he was. We knew he had, put up some points in junior, but obviously the American League's quite different. So, he's been great. He takes feedback every day. He wants to get better. He's just that player that, he's not expecting to play first power play every game, but he knows he can work hard. He knows he can contribute. He knows if he does the right things, he's going to be able to capitalize. So, he's been awesome for us.
80 points on the year, trying to become the first Crunch player ever to lead the league in scoring. 2 games to go for the Crunch. Tonight it's the Rochester Americans. We're on Countdown to Crunch Time, presented by Supercuts with Crunch assistant coach Ken Klee. And it's hard to believe it's the last weekend of the year. And you go back to the start of the year and they're always just hoping to make the playoffs. And now the Crunch enter the final day of the home schedule for the Crunch and a chance to clinch the division on home ice. What's it been like to get into this position, and you couldn't ask for a better way to do it here potentially tonight?
Yeah, no, it's been great. I mean, our guys have they've responded. They battled all year. We had a little rough patch at the beginning of the year, and then we kind of found our game, and thankfully, we've had guys in and out of the lineup all year with injuries and different things, and guys have stepped up, and we've added a few players here and there. Nolan Valot's been a great add for us, and just all of our guys have really competed hard night in and night out, and given ourselves a chance to be where we're at, to where to have home ice in the playoffs is a big deal, and we're excited about it.
Yeah, the Crunch have a 3-3 weekend to wrap things up, and we talked about having no midweek game for the first time in months this past week. Did you see the response, or are you able to work on things during the week in terms of practices? So how do you think that helped heading into last night and the rest of this weekend?
Well, I just think it gives our guys a chance to reset a little bit. I mean, you get playing so much. I think we played, 16 games in March was very taxing. We had very little practice. So, habits, we're all about habits. And, it's tough to keep good habits when you're never practicing. When you're just playing games and, some nights you're tired, some nights you're in survival mode, some nights you're on the attack, some nights you're on the defense. So, just to kind of get our game in order, I think was good for the week, just to get back to our habits and the type of team we want to be, the style we're going to play, and that showed last night.
Crunch are getting set for the Rochester Americans on this Saturday night. Final home game of the season. It's a showdown. Top two teams in the North Division. Crunch can clinch the division here tonight. Last week it was a home-and-home series between the Crunch and the Americans. Crunch went to Rochester and won. Americans came here the next night and beat the Crunch. Obviously a really good team over there. They got some reinforcements down from Buffalo as well. So what can we expect in this final matchup of the regular season here between the teams tonight?
Well, I think it's been a good series all year. I mean, we've won in their barn. They've won in our barn. We've had splits, we've had tight games, we've had blowouts, we've had a little bit of everything. So, I'm not sure what we're going to see tonight, to be honest with you. We'll kind of see how the game progresses. Obviously, both teams know they're solidly in the playoffs. Both teams have home ice. So, you just never know. It's like you said, it's a 3-3, but hopefully our guys come out and put on a performance that we're going to be proud of for our fans.
Okay, looking forward to today as the Crunch take on the Rochester Americans. This is Crunch assistant coach Ken Klee. Ken, thanks for your time and good luck tonight.
You bet. Thanks, Meatball.